Alright, lads and lassies, strap yourselves in, because today we're diving headfirst into one of the biggest talking points swirling around Ibrox right now. Aye, you've guessed it. The name on everyone's lips is Davide Ancelotti, the son of the legendary Carlo Ancelotti, is being lined up as the next manager of Rangers. And let me tell you, it sparked quite the debate across the fan base and pundits alike. Now, before we go any further, let's set the scene. The Light Blues are about to wrap up their season this Saturday, 17th of May, and truth be told, the final game's hardly the headline act anymore. All eyes are firmly fixed on the summer, and more specifically on who's going to be the man to take the reins after Philippe Clement. The board isn't wasting time, especially with the impending takeover led by Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marath looming large. They want a new gaffer in place before that chapter fully opens. And that's where Davide Ancelotti comes into the picture. Word on the street is that Rangers have already tabled an offer for the Italian, looking to snap him up as he prepares to move on from Real Madrid. On paper, it sounds like a bold and exciting move. I mean, this is a man who's been part of an elite coaching setup working alongside his father at some of the biggest clubs in the world. But, and it's a big but, there's a catch that's got folk like Chris Boyd raising their eyebrows sky high. Boyd never one to mince his words when live on Sky Sports and made it crystal clear he's not convinced. His main gripe: the simple fact that Ancelotti has never been a first-team manager in his own right. Sure, he's been a trusted assistant to his old man, but stepping into the hot seat at a club like Rangers is an entirely different beast. Boyd's point is that this isn't the place for a managerial apprenticeship, and given the track record of other promising coaches who have struggled under the weight of expectations at Ibrox, he reckons it's a gamble the club simply can't afford. He even name-dropped Michael Beale's ill-fated stint between 2022 and 2023 as a cautionary tale. Remember the hype around Beale, a highly rated coach full of ideas, but when it came to the brutal week-in, week-out demands of managing Rangers, it all fell apart. Boyd fears history might repeat itself if the club isn't careful, but it's not all doom and gloom from Boyd. He did acknowledge that Ancelotti's coaching credentials are solid. No one's denying that. The lad's been in top-tier environments learning from one of the greatest managers of all time. However, Boyd argues that coaching at a club like Real Madrid or even Everton isn't quite the same as leading a team like Rangers, where the intensity and pressure are on a different level altogether. As Boyd put it, managing Rangers or Celtic isn't your average job. The expectations are sky high, the scrutiny is relentless, and every single match feels like a cup final. Whether you're up against St. Johnstone or Motherwell, the fans expect nothing less than total dominance. And let's be honest, in the eyes of many, these clubs are bigger than most top-flight teams elsewhere, at least in terms of what it means emotionally and culturally. That's why Boyd believes Rangers need someone who understands the unique landscape of Scottish football. Not necessarily a former Rangers player, but someone who gets the rivalries, the history, and the sheer magnitude of what it means to lead a club of this stature. Someone who won't be blindsided by the intensity of an Old Firm derby or the unforgiving nature of away days in the Scottish Premiership. Another bone of contention for Boyd is the club's recent recruitment strategy, which he feels has been lacking. In his view, the incoming manager needs to be heavily involved in identifying and bringing in the right players, not just tactically astute on the training ground. Experience, he says, is key. A seasoned manager is far more likely to steady the ship and bring much-needed clarity to transfer dealings. Now, while Boyd's caution is understandable, dismissing Ancelotti outright might be a tad harsh. After all, the Italian has had a spell in British football before serving as his father's assistant at Everton between 2019 and 2021. Granted, it is not the same as being the main man, but it's not like he's walking in blind to the British game. That experience, albeit limited, gives him a taste of what football on these shores demands. Moreover, Ancelotti Jr. has carved out a bit of a reputation for his work on set pieces. His tactical nous in that department has been praised, and let's face it, in Scottish football, where matches are often tight and decided by fine margins, being sharp on set plays can make a world of difference. Imagine having that edge in games where unlocking a stubborn defense is the difference between 3 points and another frustrating draw. Of course, none of this erases the valid concerns about his lack of managerial experience. There's no sugarcoating the fact that taking over a club like Rangers is a massive leap. But then again, every appointment carries a degree of risk. Even the most seasoned managers can falter, and sometimes giving a fresh face a shot can pay off in unexpected ways. What's clear is that the Rangers board faces a pivotal decision: opt for the safer route with a proven name, or take a calculated risk on a young, ambitious coach who's eager to step out of his father's shadow and make his own mark. One thing's for certain: the fans will be watching closely, and patience will be in short supply. The conversation around Ancelotti's potential appointment is far from over. It's a fascinating debate that touches on deeper issues about the club's direction, identity, and long-term vision. Is this a gamble worth taking, or is it a risk too far at a time when Rangers need stability and guaranteed results? And here's where it gets really interesting, folks. See, beyond the talk of tactics and experience, what's really at stake here is the soul of Rangers Football Club. For years now, there's been this nagging feeling among the supporters that the club's lost a bit of its identity. Transfers that never quite lived up to the hype, managerial appointments that failed to deliver, and a sense that decisions are being made by people who don't fully grasp what it means to wear that blue shirt. Bringing in Davide Ancelotti could either be a stroke of genius or another chapter in a frustrating cycle. And that's exactly why emotions are running so high. Let's not kid ourselves. The comparisons to Michael Beale are gonna keep coming up. Beale came with a glowing reputation, highly rated for his coaching methods, but when it came to leading the team, handling the media, managing egos, and dealing with the relentless expectations from the terraces, it all proved too much. Boyd's warning isn't just a personal opinion, it's rooted in very recent history. The idea of going down a similar path again feels like tempting fate, and fans are understandably wary of that. But flip the coin for a moment. Imagine if Davide Ancelotti does get the job and actually thrives. Imagine a young, hungry manager who soaked up knowledge from the very best, bringing fresh ideas, a modern approach, and a renewed sense of purpose to a squad that desperately needs direction. The potential is there, no doubt. It's whether the environment at Rangers right now is the right one for him to succeed, and that's a massive consideration. Let's also not forget the wider context. Scottish football is a different battlefield compared to the glamour of La Liga or the Premier League. The pitches aren't pristine, the budgets are tighter, and the margin for error is razor thin. Every point matters, every defeat feels like a crisis, and every old firm clash is a war. Would Ancelotti Jr. be ready for that level of scrutiny? It's not just about tactics, it's about handling the pressure cooker that is Glasgow football, where a single bad result can turn the heat up to unbearable levels. Now folk have been quick to point out his time at Everton. It wasn't as the main man, but working under his father in the English Premier League surely taught him a thing or two about the culture, the style of play, and the demands of the British game. That experience might not make him bulletproof, but it's a foundation to build upon. And while Rangers are a unique challenge, they also present a unique opportunity. The chance to prove himself, to carve out his own legacy away from his father's long shadow. But there's another layer to this whole situation. Recruitment. One of Boyd's strongest criticisms was aimed at how Rangers have been doing their business in the transfer market. Too often the club's been left with players who simply aren't up to scratch, signings that look good on paper but fail to deliver on the pitch. The next manager, whoever he is, has to be heavily involved in fixing that. It's not just about assembling a squad, it's about building a team with fight character and the ability to cope with the unique demands of Scottish football. Ancelotti's eye for detail, particularly in areas like set pieces and tactical organization, could actually help in this regard. By bringing in players that fit his system, who understand their roles to perfection, he might just address some of the glaring weaknesses we've seen in recent seasons. But again, that depends on whether he'd be given the backing and the freedom to shape the squad in his image. And let's talk about style of play. Rangers fans are proud of the club's traditions. High-tempo attacking football, dominating games at Ibrox and never settling for second best. Would Ancelotti stick to these principles, or would he bring a more cautious possession, heavy approach seen at continental clubs? That's a crucial question, because as much as fans want results, they also want to see football played the Rangers way. There's an expectation, a swagger, a certain way of doing things that simply has to be respected. The board's decision then isn't just about hiring a coach. It's about choosing a direction for the club's future. Do they go for the young, progressive thinker who represents a bold step into the unknown? Or do they play it safe with a more experienced head who understands every nook and cranny of Scottish football? Either way, it's a defining moment. What complicates matters further is the upcoming takeover. With new owners about to step in, there's uncertainty over how much patience or financial backing the next manager will actually get. Appointing Ancelotti before that process is finalized could be seen as a proactive move, showing ambition, but it also carries risk. If the new ownership has different ideas, it could create friction right from the off. Timing, as always, is everything. But here's the thing. Football's full of stories where the so-called risky appointments ended up being inspired choices. Think of managers who were written off for their lack of experience only to prove everyone wrong when given the chance. Ancelotti could very well fall into that category. It all comes down to whether he's ready to step out of his comfort zone and whether Rangers are the right platform for him to do so. At the heart of this debate is a simple truth: Rangers cannot afford another misstep. The fans have been through enough false dawns. Every appointment, every transfer, every strategic decision from here on out needs to be laser focused on restoring the club to the top of Scottish football and making a mark in Europe. The margin for error is gone. So while the name Ancelotti carries weight and prestige, it also brings expectations. Expectations that Davide would need to match and exceed, not just by association, but through his own merit, his own leadership, and his own vision. He would need to win over a skeptical support, prove himself week in, week out, and deliver the kind of consistency that's been sorely lacking. At the end of the day, the decision will split opinions. There'll be those excited by the fresh approach, the potential for modernization, and the long-term benefits of bringing in a young, forward-thinking coach. And there'll be others who believe this is not the time for experiments, who want a steady hand at the wheel to navigate the turbulent waters of Scottish football. But one thing is certain: the spotlight will be unrelenting. From the moment the appointment is announced, every training session, every press conference, every match day decision will be dissected in forensic detail. That's the reality of life. At Rangers, there's no hiding place. For Davide Ancelotti, this could be the opportunity that defines his career, the moment he steps out from his father's shadow and builds his own legacy. For Rangers, it's a gamble that could either reignite the club's fortunes or set them back even further. High stakes, high pressure, and no guarantees. But then again, that's what makes football so addictive. Time will tell if this bold move will pay off. The only certainty right now is that the next few weeks will be absolutely crucial in shaping the future of Rangers Football Club. Buckle up, folks. It's going to be one hell of a ride. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Jim Goodwin, manager of Dundee United, didn't mince his words after the final whistle at Ibrox, accusing the officials of robbing his side in their heated encounter with Rangers. In a passionate post-match interview, the Irishman expressed a deep frustration with decisions he believes tilted the balance unfairly against his team. Goodwin, known for his forthright nature, suggested the match was influenced by factors beyond the pitch, leaving a sour taste after what he described as a valiant effort by his squad. The manager's comments point to key moments where he felt officiating let his players down, disrupting the flow of the match and denying Dundee United what he saw as clear opportunities. While he stopped short of directly naming individuals, his words carried a sharp edge, echoing the sentiment that his team were not given a fair shake. Goodwin lamented that despite a strong tactical performance and commendable effort from his players, circumstances outside their control dictated the outcome. This is not the first time controversies have flared during fixtures involving Rangers, and Goodwin's remarks will undoubtedly reignite discussions around officiating consistency. In Scottish football, Dundee United's gaffer insisted his team had approached the match with discipline and heart, only to see the tide turned by decisions he categorized as baffling. The football on display had all the hallmarks of a tense Scottish Premiership showdown. But for Goodwin, it's the sense of injustice that lingers most. His post-match comments were charged with emotion, but also a call for accountability, of stressing that teams outside the old firm deserve the same fair treatment on the pitch. The manager's outburst will likely draw scrutiny. But for supporters of the Tannadice club, it reflects a growing frustration with perceived disparities in the game's officiating. Whether the league takes notice remains to be seen, but Goodwin has made it clear he believes Dundee United were wrong and he's not about to let it slide quietly. Greetings, fans! Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comment section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.